A 15-member delegation of government officers from St. Kitts and Nevis visited Montserrat on Wednesday, December 13, as part of a retreat activity aimed at strengthening relations with Montserrat. The delegation, led by Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Aviation in St. Kitts and Nevis, Ms. Kay Bass, was jointly hosted by the Ministry of Communication, Works, Energy and Labour and the Office of the Premier. As part of their schedule of activities, they were taken on a day tour which included a courtesy call to the Honourable Premier and Cabinet Ministers, a guided tour of government offices, a lecture on the island's volcanic experiences and effects at the Montserrat Volcano Observatory, and an island tour of sites to include Plymouth, the geothermal wells, quarry site, and Runaway Gut. During the courtesy call to the Office of the Premier, the delegation was officially welcomed by the Honourable Deputy Premier Delmaud Ryan and the Honourable Acting Minister of Communication, Works, Energy and Labour, Gregory Willock. The two ministers held discussions with the team about Montserrat's history, volcano, as well as the development and investment opportunities that exist on the island. Permanent Secretary of St. Kitts and Nevis's Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Aviation, Ms. Bass, explained that Montserrat was decided as the island of choice for this retreat because most members of her staff had never been to Montserrat, and the visit would also strengthen the relationship between the two islands.
I'm Kay Bass, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Aviation, and we're pleased to be here in Montserrat. I'm here with 15 members of my staff, and they cover different areas. We have one member, desk officer, who is actually responsible for Montserrat. The idea came about early in the year to do a staff retreat. We were brainstorming about where we can go, and most persons had been to the nearby islands, but the majority had not visited Montserrat. And we realized that Montserrat, as an associate member of the CARICOM and a member of the OECS, and one single space with St. Kitts and Nevis, it is only important and necessary that we establish these relations and deepen ties between and bonds between us. So we chose Montserrat because we believe it has a lot to offer in terms of history. We share a common heritage, and we know that Montserrat has a lot to offer, and that is why Montserrat was chosen for this visit.
Mrs. Ryan was pleased that Montserrat was chosen as the island for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs retreat.
We are very delighted to welcome the staff of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, St. Kitts and Nevis, also including some aviation staff, and those responsible for aviation and port, I must say. And I'm very happy that they have chosen Montserrat as their day of retreat. Interestingly, I was in St. Kitts 2 Saturdays ago when they told me that they were going to be here, and I was very excited to learn that they have chosen Montserrat. It's not very often that we have whole teams come in, much like in the earlies when persons were interested to see in all the various activities happening with the volcano. But now that things have quieted for the last 7 years, it's good now to have that renewed interest from our neighboring territories, and especially their staff who is responsible for foreign affairs, so that they can have first-hand information about Montserrat and can speak more positive about Montserrat, and indeed promote too that Montserrat is open for business. Whatever happens in our neighboring countries always have a spillover effect, and so whatever happens in Montserrat does have a spillover effect, even as simple as the volcanic ash flying over to St. Kitts in the early parts. Now that same ash creates opportunities even for our neighboring islands, where they can create lots of value-added products, and there are opportunities to build and invest in Montserrat, for which some of that information was shared with the visiting team. And we really want them to look at Montserrat as a good start for them, even though that, yes, you are in St. Kitts, there are always opportunities in our territories that can benefit each of us, and I'm happy to have the Permanent Secretary and her team here with us. I wish them a very enjoyable stay on Montserrat throughout the day. There are lots of activities, especially focused on the volcano and some of the developments, so they will have an opportunity to tour Plymouth and Jack Boy Hill and WH Bramble Airport, being able to see what would have happened in terms of the destruction, but also being able to see in terms of the development, the housing, the resettling, and what's happening on this side of the island. So I just want to say thanks again for choosing Montserrat, and do encourage other ministries to come across and have their own first time experience with our beautiful Montserrat, where we always have time for you.
As a token of appreciation, the delegation presented the government of Montserrat with a gift bag containing items made in St. Kitts and Nevis. The delegation departed the island at 5:30 on Wednesday.